Okay, so what we're going to do for this second part of this video is we're going to put a top plate onto this robot. Top plates are typically made out of Lexan. You can see through them that way. Lexan or polycarbonate. You can see through them that way, and that's just pretty common for what we use. Not a necessity, but pretty common. So first off, we're going to see what size we want to make it. So we're going to use our measure command. We're going to go M for measure. And I'm going to measure from this side of the robot. Oh, I didn't get my M hit. Come on. There we go. Measure from this side of the robot to this side of the robot. And I see that's 13.5 inches. Now I'm going to measure from here to here. And I see it's 16.5. So 13.5 by 16.5. We're going to go ahead and create a new part and make that. So I'm going to go new standard IPT. And we're going to make that. I'm just going to start a sketch on this top plane and do a rectangle. You guys should be able to do this pretty easily, so I'm going to do this pretty quick. Make my rectangle. I'm going to horizontally and vertically constrain that to my origin. Once it's constrained, I'm going to go ahead and set the size. From there to there, I'm going to make that 16.5. And there to there, make that 13.5. All right, there's my 16.5 by 13.5 little plate. I'm going to finish that. And I'm going to extrude. Standard thickness of the Lexan that we get, or polycarbonate, is 0.1. There are other thicknesses, but that's pretty standard. So I'm going to go OK. Next, this is a piece of material here, but no material set to it. So I'm going to come over here and pick. Again, another name for Lexan is polycarbonate. There's clear and there's smoke. I usually do the smoke just because it gives it a little bit more color to it. It's easier to see, so I'm going to set that to smoke. And again, remember that was right here underneath the wheel that has the little color wheel next to it. Sets what it looks like. And again, polycarbonate and smoke. So that part's done. I'm going to go File. I'm going to save. I'm just going to save it in my folder I created in that folder, which was the assembly folder. And I'm going to name this top plate. And I'm going to go save. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my robot. And I'm going to place that in there. I'm going to go place. Find my top plate. There's my top plate. And I'm going to place that in there. Something like right there. I'm going to go ahead and constrain it. I'm going to mate this surface down to here. Apply that. Now I'm going to flush this end of it with down to here and go flush. Apply that. And I'm going to flush this other side. So I'm going to flush that surface of it there with, I'm going to rotate this up a little bit with right there. And apply that. Hit my F6 and see what I've got. All right. So there's a pretty good looking top plate on there. Fits on there nicely. Now the only thing that I have a little bit of problems with is this. The way that I chose to do my plates up here or on my robot. This plate I chose to put on the top. Oh, gonna have to do one of two things because these two plates, this plate, my little bolt plate, and my top plate cannot occupy the same space. So one of two things I'm gonna have to do. One is I'm gonna have to delete off this little plate, the mounting plate, and put it underneath or somewhere else, or put a different kind of plate on there, maybe an inside corner bracket, whatever. Or I can trim my piece of plastic around this. I'm going to do the second one of that. I'm going to trim my piece of plastic around that. So first I have to know how big this little plate is. So I'm going to measure from that plate right there. And actually it tells me right there that size of it is 1.5 inches. And I'm going to measure over to here. And it's 3. So it's a 1.5 by 3 bolt plate there. So I'm going to go back to my top plate. I'm going to start my sketch. And I'm going to put a rectangle here on this piece. I'm going to start it right there to right there. Notice I already put black lines on those two because they're fully constrained. And I'm going to make this 3 inches wide by 1.5. I'm going to finish that sketch. I'm going to extrude it. I'm going to change it to cut. Cut, cut, cut. There it is. Distance, I don't want it 0.1. I want it through all. That way, if I change the thickness of this plate, it'll still go through all of it. Okay. And that looks good. I'm going to go back to my assembly. And the corner's still there. Let's see. Let's zoom out. Oh, shoot. It put it on the other side. So with that, I'm going to have to reconstrain a little bit. So what I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to my top plate. And I could redraw this corner or this cutout on another corner. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and just reconstrain. So I'm going to come down here. There's all of my constraints underneath the top plate. I'm just going to go ahead and delete them all out. Delete. Whoops. If I can get them deleted. Delete. Delete. Oh, come on. Delete. And delete. And now I'm just going to reconstrain it. I'm going to pause the video while I reconstrain it because you don't need to watch me do that. Okay, so now, with the magic of video, that is done. It's cut nicely around there, and that looks good. If you happen to have more than one plate on the top surface, you'd have to do this on more than one corner. Or you'd have to move your brackets out of that top corner. I still definitely want to see that you have the 2 brackets each one of their corners, or that it's trimmed around wherever that bracket is. Okay, so now next, this plate's just not going to magically set on there. We have to put some holes in it. So I've got to measure where the holes are, or where I want some holes. I'm going to bolt it to this middle set of holes here. Not every one of them, but I'm going to bolt it to a few of them. So for example, I think I want one in this hole right here. So I'm going to measure from that hole to this edge and see what that measures. Whoops, and I did not get what I wanted to. Let me try that again. Measure that hole to that edge. There we go. 1.135 inches. Now, you got to be a little bit careful where I'm measuring to, because we want to make sure it's measured straight. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So this hole that I selected here is on this surface of this beam here, right here. So I'm kind of looking down through the object. If I measure down to here, it's going to be measuring at an angle. I don't want to measure an angle. If I measure up to here, it's going to measure at an angle. I want to measure it right there. So it measures straight across. I might be able to even rotate that a little bit. So you can see that that is measuring straight across. And you can see it's measuring right on that surface. So 1.135 inches. I'm going to write that down. 1.135. Okay. Then I don't want just one bolt in this thing. So I want a few. So let's see what they are spaced in between. Measure. So I went from this hole there. Let's just skip down. I'm going to put one here pretty close just to help transition between these two. Oh, come on. Measuring is sometimes a pain. Ah, come on. Huh. I'm not having any luck measuring. You know what? I can measure these anywhere. So I'm going to just come down here and measure between this center hole and between that center hole. There we go. They're spaced every 0.75 inches is what I was trying to get across to you. 0.75 there. For two of them, it's 1, or for two of them, it's 1.5. For 4 of them to here, I can't get quite to 4 of them. It would be 3 inches from there to there. So every 1.5 inches is what those, or sorry, every 0.75 inches. So first one, 1.135 in, and then every 0.75 inches, and that's on the long side. So I'm going to go back to my top plate. I'm going to go ahead and start a sketch on this top surface. I'm going to put a point down here, about in that corner. That's where I was just a moment ago. I'm going to measure for that first point. That is 1.135 inches. And then I'm going to put another one out to about here, and about to there, and about to there. Sure, that's enough. Now I'm going to measure between them. Whoops. Oh, come on. No, no, I said measure. I'm going to dimension between them. Sorry, so sorry. I'm going to dimension between those. There we go. And I'm going to make that 3. I'm going to dimension between those two. I'm going to make that 3. between those two, make that one 3. And looks like I can probably get one more over there. So I'm going to put that in and measure 3 inches between those. And yes, it stays on there nicely. All right. So now next, I'm going to go back to my drawing. Now I need to know how far over that hole is. So I'm going to measure here. Hopefully I can do this from the top surface all right on this one. I don't know why it was giving me fits before. I'm going to measure from there to there. There we go, 0.75. So I'm going to come back over to here. I'm going to measure from here to here and 0.75. Now, I want to make sure all of these are locked into place. Notice they are not. So I'm going to do my horizontal constraint. Oh, sorry, I need a vertical one there, looks like, between that one and that one. Nah, those two are black. Between there and there. Look how nicely this is shaping up. So there, I got all those points. You're going to go ahead and put all those points on this other side. On this other side, you're probably going to have to add one more because that's a 3-inch plate. So add one more over there. That's fine. I want you to go ahead and probably add a couple more on this side. And you're just going to have to measure to get those. Again, I'm going to pause my video and do that for you real quick. Okay, I decided to come back here for just a moment. Notice I only put 2 dimensions on here. I put a 0.75 down for this one, 3 inches for this one. Now, all I'm going to do for the rest of those are I'm just going to use horizontal and vertical. So here I'm going to make this one constrained to there. That turns that one black. That one to there. That one didn't turn black. I don't know why. Let's go on here. Do the rest of these. Line up the rest of those. Those are all good. Now the reason these others didn't turn black is because I needed to get them vertically constrained here. And look how nicely those are doing that. All turning black as I go down. And again, that was 2 dimensions and then all those went. All right, again, I'm going to pause. Okay, so on the rest of these holes, again, I add very minimal dimensions. I made 3 inches in between these, and I just used horizontal and vertical constraints and made these line up with my other things I already had dimensioned. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my holes in. It automatically recognizes the 17 selected objects. If it doesn't, you just need to pick on this position here and make sure it does say the 17 selected. The size of our hole, I already measured it. It's 0.16. I just checked one of the other holes, and I'm just going to go OK. So now I'm going to go back to my assembly, and I'm going to take a look, see how these holes lined up. And look how nicely those holes all line up. Now, here, if I was real picky, I'd probably want these bolted down the center here. So you may want to measure and get these down the center. I'm not going to be that picky with you. Your holes line up. That's all I really care. Same on the front. Yeah, these don't line up in the middle of this channel. Maybe if I was actually building the robot, I'd probably want them bolted right down the center of this. But that'll work. They're bolted in the place they're holding. So now, that's it. What I want you to do for the pictures of this, to submit this, is, number one picture. I want you to have an overall view of the entire robot like this. So I can see the cutter plate, if you had to cut around one of these, or see that you moved one of the plates. Number 2, I want you to zoom in. And this is going to be kind of hard because those holes are kind of hard to see. I want you to zoom in, and I want you to do the best view you can to make it so you can see it. Right now, I can barely see those holes out there. If I click on this, though, however, to select it, it turns blue. And if I hold my mouse over top of it, notice how it makes those little green lines in there. It's still kind of hard to see. There, the blue lines are about the best. So right there, not everything, but I want to see at least, let's say what, 6 holes. How many do I have right there? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 6 holes is about appropriate. Don't zoom way out there on it because I won't be able to see your holes. But I want to see your holes, and I want to be able to see that I can that what they're actually doing and going through and lining up. All right, and then that's 2. So picture number 2, I want that. Picture number 3, I want you to go here to your right side view, or your left side view. Either one, doesn't matter. And I want you to zoom in there so I can see your wheel. And see that it's lined up correctly now. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I remember. I undid mine. But I want to be able to see that this is lined up correctly. Let's go over here to my right side one. Aha, there my right side one. Well, my wheel's lined up correctly, but this one is not. I don't have everything constrained on here properly. But I want to see that this is lined on here and constrained properly, that this is straight across. Your flat spot of your motor is straight up. I want to be able to see that, and I see that your plate is in place. So again, do it like this, but again, I really can't see that. So you got to make it so I can see it. Click on that and turn it blue there so I can see it. So there's your 3 shots, 1, 2, and 3. get those submitted, it'll be great. Thank you.